our notes are always sponsored by Siemens, which we are grateful to. But Niels Bjorn, you're ready. Please give us your keynote.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and thank you, Motorship, and apologies on behalf of my boss, Mortensen, who unfortunately was not available to make it. I'll do my best to entertain you over the next 15 minutes or so. The topic I've been given is, as my colleagues here also, crucial challenges to the industry today, and I'll do this on behalf of the tanker industry, and particularly the Maersk tankers and what we're facing. And one of the issues we're facing is a tsunami of new regulations that is hitting shipping at a very bad time. A few words about Maersk tankers. The very first tanker purchased in 1928 with the name Emma Maersk, one of 5 ships in the company with that name. One of the smaller tankers that we ran for many years in North Europe was the Dangolf Maersk, around 5,000. But in the 70s we also had a series of ULCCs, the K series, 340,000 tons. So we've been all over the market in tankers for almost 80 years now. A little on the other businesses, as I'm sure you know of them, very large container ships, the world's largest still, supply services, Maersk Drilling is a very big entity, also making quite good profit these days, as Maersk Oil and Gas. And then of course we have the terminals, which now operate 70 terminals all over the world. The agenda here, the major challenges we are facing is of course the poor freight rates. As long as the freight rates are good, there are no real challenges, everything is smooth. But we see change trading pattern, which reflects the poor freight rates. Crew qualifications is an issue. And of course we have so many new regulations coming up, like ballast water and air pollution regulations. And of course the issue is also addressed by our chairman, how about the enforcement to ensure that we will operate in the playing field. Now this is some statistics I got from my former colleagues in BIMCO about the earnings in the tanker segment over the last 1.5 years, and it was not very good. You will note the yellow one is VLCCs. At a certain point in time you will charter VLCC cheaper than handy-sized tankers, so it was really a very, very poor market, in particular if you were in the crude business. But then in November something happened, and everybody said, wow, now the good times are back again. And we started opening the champagne, but unfortunately it was just a little peak and then back to normal again. So it is not very good in the tanker segment these days, and prospects are a little better but not very good. These are some statistics also from BIMCO and Clarkson's. Little on the crude tanker supply. It looks like slight increase over years, whereas the product tanker increasing this year, but then it will start to decline again. This shows some of the classic and some of the new crude routes. So if you look at the classic ones, this is very one from the Arabian Gulf to US, the Arabian Gulf to East Asia, and of course to North Europe. That's a very traditional one for VLCCs and ULCCs, and in later years after the expansion of the Suez Canal, we saw a lot of oil coming from the Gulf to North Europe. One particular new trade route is this one, which is from the Persian Gulf to the north coast of India, northwest coast of India, a place called Jamnagar, which today is the world's largest refinery plant. Now I can't see anything here. So this is really a game changer. Another interesting event could be the US will open for export of crude oil. We have a surplus of crude oil these days. So there have been discussions in the US Senate whether to revoke the ban on export of crude oil. The main point I'm making here is that what we see is change in trades for crude oil in particular. And what does that lead to? Well, there'll be less ton miles for crude oil, but there will most likely lead to more ton miles for refined products. And that gave rise to a strategic change for Maersk tankers, At least that's what their crystal ball looks like. And the decision was to get more or less out of crude business and into the product business instead. So earlier this year, we sold 15 VLCCs plus 6 that we had partly ownership of. And now we just ordered 6 MR tankers, product and chemical tankers, around 50,000. So that's a strategic change for us, and that's what our crystal ball told us. Maybe wrong, but that's at least the way the Maersk tankers will be heading. Crew qualifications and a few words about that. There's a lot of new regulations in the pipeline. The ships are becoming more and more sophisticated. In the old days, the ship had a main engine and 2 auxiliary engines and a boiler. These days are over. We see a lot of new gadgets put on board ships, and they require a lot more from the crews today than they did just 20 or 30 years ago. Amongst them will be new ballast water treatment plants, scrubbers, NOx abatement, and waste heat recovery and other stuff. It's also an issue that sailing on a tanker is not extremely sexy. It's not that attractive. If you ask any chief officer, you'd rather stand on the bridge of Queen Elizabeth or Queen Mary than you'd be on an old rusty tanker trading between, say, Maersk and Rotterdam. So it's quite difficult to both recruit and retain qualified personnel, and particularly in times of very poor freight rates is an even bigger challenge. Now, the 3 big issues that is really facing shipping these days are air pollution, and these are some of the estimated costs for that will hit shipping. Ballast water management. There's an estimate made by Japan some years ago, 75 billion US will have to be paid by the shipping industry over the next 6 years, which of course, combined with poor freight rates, is an extra challenge. I'm having a problem with this one now. CO2 regulations is a bit unknown. We don't know where we are going, but an estimate was 75 billion US. At least that was a proposal from the World Bank. Could you please make the changes from down there? So this one doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay. Ballast water regulation, well, in the group, Equal Group, we always treated as though it was in force. So now we have installed 27 plants so far, and we're still installing. In our opinion, what happened in the last MEPC in IMO rendered the IMO convention a little irrelevant, at least if you're in global shipping. So we're now looking to the US to see whether they will soon have a system approved, because that will be the ticket to trade for any ballast water management vendor. You can see this is a little how we have been looking at the So 2010 we installed the first system. 2012 we started installing in container ships, new builds. As I said, around now we have installed 27 systems.
It's just quite slow, but it's coming.
Okay. Sorry, back on this one. This shows the number of ballast water treatment systems that we will need to install over the next couple of years, but that is of course based on the IMO convention entering into 2015. Maybe it doesn't matter so much because we have US rules which are similar to retrofit, but a total of 402 ships will need to be retrofitted, and at a cost of more than $500 million US.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you look at the air pollution, particularly the EGA, which was also addressed by our chairman, we do not see a big penetration of scrubbers and LNG, at least not for ships trading only part of the time within EGAs. The most ships will probably switch to MGO, but that in itself is of course the easy solution compared to install a scrubber or change to LNG. But there will be, of course, some work also entailed when you change your low sulfur heavy fuel tanks into MGO tanks, and you really need to assess your ship and see whether even some pipe work may be done. We are doing that right now and sending our riding teams to our ships to try to prepare them for this new situation. If you look at the global SOx, which may come in 2020, that's at least what we believe right now, some of that can be met by heavy fuel oil, but it's very limited. It's like a few percent that will meet the 0.5. So it will basically be distillate fuel. You could blend on board, blend on shore, heavy fuel oil and distillate. There will of course be an issue with the flashpoint for road diesel if you use that. You could actually run different fuels on different cylinders. If you look at how we comply with this, 1+2 first options will be by the bunker delivery node, but 3 to 6 will most likely be by the CEMS, Continuous Emission Monitoring system, in order to demonstrate compliance with these rules. And if we are concerned with the enforcement of the ECA rules, then when we have the global rule, we will be probably sleepless. NOx Tier 3, heard very briefly about that. We have been testing a Tier 3 engine, an MAN engine, exhaust gas recirculation on one of our ships, and it actually works quite well. So we are not that concerned about it. So finally, on compliance and enforcement, a few words about that. For the ballast water, we propose that the focus will mainly be whether you have the paperwork in place, whether you have installed the equipment, and focus less on sampling and lab testing, because it's really outside the control of the ship. On CO2, there will not be any big incentive to try to cheat on that, at least not as long as we don't have any form of tax or fee or levy or whatever. And again, on the NOx, it will be very easy for the Port State Control to identify which ships need to comply and which do not. But about the SOx and the ECA and global rule later, that is where the really big money is. $300 in difference on each ton of fuel burned, whether it's compliant or non-compliant. This is an example. An Aframax tanker trading from Atlantic to Primorsk in just north of St. Petersburg. 50 million tons of crude is exported from there annually, and Osluga, just south of, is 75 million tons of oil is coming out of these terminals annually. And an Aframax tanker can save around 120 to 150,000 US dollars on each trip if it's not compliant. Some statistics to underline and underscore our concern. This is from the Paris MOU, 2012 figures. The total number of inspections within the North European ECA was 6,900, 158 detentions, but only 10 detentions that were fuel related for using non-compliant fuel. And they were all in the Netherlands, because that's the only place they have portable equipment to check the sulfur level. And on top of that, we got a statement from the European Commission saying that only 1 in 1,000 ships are inspected for fuel compliance within EU. Many more are inspected for other issues, but fuel compliance is only 1 in 1,000. So we were quite concerned, and we still are, but we of course appreciate that the European Commission has established the European Sustainable Shipping Forum, which we are party to, and which will be looking into practical guidelines for more technical inspectors. So we are on the way. But thank you very much, and I'm not sure if we'll take questions now, but otherwise, up to you, Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bjorn. We'll do the questions.